Just confirming that we're live now.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the CalSTRS Audits and Risk Management Committee. And let's begin with a roll call.
Absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Ms. Higa?
Here.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Here.
For the Director of Finance, Ms. Whitaker?
Here.
Treasurer Ma?
Here.
For the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Yamanaka?
Here.
Chairperson Yi, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. We will have a 10-minute public comment period at the end of each agenda item. And public comment after each agenda item will be limited to the agenda item topic. There will be additional opportunities for statements from the public for items pertaining to, or not pertaining to a specific agenda item at the end of the open session meeting. Individuals wishing to speak at the board web conference should dial into the public comment line, which is 833-986-0555. Again, 833-986-0555, and wait in the call-in queue. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes for his or her presentation. And if there's not enough time for speakers to have 3 minutes, the timing will be at the discretion of the chair. The Teachers Retirement Board meetings are live web streamed, and I want to thank our technical crew for being able to enable us to meet virtually on this platform. And these will be video archived as well, which are available to the public on the CalSTRS.com website. To protect the privacy of minors who wish to address the board, public commenters under the age of 18 only will only state their name and affiliated organization, but do not share any personal identifying information such as last name, age, or school. So that is the policy of the committee and the board. So let's move on to our first agenda item. It is an action item. That's the approval of the committee agenda. Any comments about the committee agenda? Okay, seeing none.
Approval of the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Higa to approve the agenda, seconded by Ms. Yamamoto. Let's have a roll call on that.
Yes, Ms. Higa?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Whitaker?
Aye.
Treasurer Ma?
Aye.
Mr. Yamanaka?
Aye.
Chairperson Yi?
Aye.
The motion passed.
Great, thank you very much. The next item is a consent agenda item. It is an action item, and that is the approval of the minutes from the March 4th, 2020 Audit and Risk Management Committee open session. And let me see if there are any comments about this particular item. Any concerns about it being on consent? Seeing and hearing none, is there a motion on this item?
Move.
Okay, motion by Ms. Yamamoto.
I'll second.
Okay, second by, was that you, Denise?
No, it's Jennifer Whitaker.
Oh, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Great, thank you. Second by Ms. Whitaker. Let's have a roll call on this.
Ms. Higa?
Aye.
Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Whitaker?
Aye.
Treasurer Ma?
Aye.
Mr. Yamanaka?
Aye.
Chairperson Yi?
Aye. Great, thank you. That motion carries. Our next item is item number 3. This is a consent agenda information item. This is the progress report on the 2019 management letter. Trust all of you have had a chance to review it. Okay, seeing no comments on that item, we will then go on to item number 4. This is an action item, and here we have the 2020 Internal Audit Plan Progress Report and Mid-Year Update. And let me turn to Larry Jensen and the team to present the item.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
If I might, I'd just like to use a brief analogy as I introduce this item and kind of explain some of the things that's been happening in audit services. When COVID-19 first struck in March of 2020, many people described it as a tsunami of disruption. And this metaphor is fitting in more ways than one. After the initial wave hit, don't forget what happens next during the tsunami. The wave just keeps coming, and no one really understands the extent of damage or risks below the surface. But when the water finally recedes, the damage left behind is tremendous and long-lasting. It has been said that crisis is a marathon, not a sprint. Well, the initial shock has worn off, and we have moved into some semblance of crisis operations, trying to adjust to our new situation. Some may even say it's the new normal. Well, certainly during a crisis, audits are not normally a top-of-mind activity that people feel needs to be accomplished, and neither did we. School districts began to close and soon transitioned to distant learning. We deferred the employer audit program and ceased initializing new audits to minimize further disruption to school districts. 11, or nearly 30% of our audit staff used emergency family leave from 2 to 12 weeks during this period. Additionally, to assist the organization, 2 of our employer auditors assisted with reviewing pension fund solution training aids, and 1 employer auditor was reallocated to assist with ongoing internal audits. Two additional employer auditors were assigned to assist with the important statewide initiative for contact tracing. Well, on top of all this, we experienced 3 vacancies on the internal audit team during that same period. Finally, we just learned that 3 staff will soon be on extended leave. But in spite of these challenges, the audit teams have remained focused on transitioning to telework, conducting remote audits. We now call them Zoom audits. The team have kept audits moving forward while minimizing disruption to employers and letting the school district set the pace for resuming audits. We also have taken a fresh look at the internal audit plan to determine if it is still fit for purpose. We asked ourselves, are we auditing the right activities? Do we need to defer any existing audits in the plan or modify the scope? Do we need to add any new audits to the annual plan? Well, today we'd like to discuss proposed changes to the annual audit plan to better align with the new risk landscape left behind by the tsunami and how changes in our workforce has impacted our ability to accomplish the existing plan. I'd like to introduce Mike Dutel, who is responsible for the employer audit program, and Roseanne Oyoung, who was recently promoted as a supervising management auditor over the internal audit program, and have them describe for each of their areas proposed changes for our plan going forward. Mike, if you'd like to address the employer audit program.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Larry. Well, our initial goal for 2020 was to complete 84 employer audits, which included 32 full scope audits plus 52 limited scope audits. As of June 4th, though, we're a bit behind due to the reasons Larry mentioned, and we completed 3 full scope audits plus 22 limited scope audits. For the 3 full scope audits, we found a total of 10 findings. 2 employers had at least 1 systemic finding. For the 22 limited scope audits, we used data analytics to select employers that had a greater likelihood of misreported special compensation, post-retirement earnings, or unused sick leave. For these audits, we found a total of 43 findings. 17 employers had at least 1 systemic finding, and 3 employers had no findings. Overall, we found a total of 53 findings, and 19 of the 25 employers audited had at least 1 systemic finding, which is about 76% of our audits. On pages 20 and 21 contains a list of all the employers that we audited. The information contained on this list was used to create the charts found in ARM 22 and 23. If you take a look at ARM 20, the top row going across lists the 4 areas that we audit. The first area is post-retirement earnings. The second is member earnings reported as non-member earnings. And the third is the most important for us and the longest that takes us is all earnings, including pay rate. And the fourth area we look at is unused sick leave. And the first column going down lists all the employers that we audited. The second column shows whether the employer had a systemic finding. As you can see, the first employer listed, Bakersfield, did have a systemic finding. And the following 5 columns show the number of sampled of active and retired members with reporting errors for each employer. Now, if we look at the earnings column, it shows a greater number of impacted sample members under that column because most of our audits did focus on special compensation during the first half of the year. We currently have 34 full scope audits plus an additional 99 limited scope audits that are in progress. And as Larry mentioned, COVID-19 did have an impact on us. School districts began to close in March, which very severely interrupted our flow of starting and completing our audits. We then shifted our focus to limited scope audits because these audits are performed remotely with no travel to the districts, and they are much easier for the districts to comply with our requests for additional information. But due to COVID-19, our goal for 2020 has been amended to complete 13 full scope audits plus 59 limited scope audits for a total of 72 audits. So our path moving forward, we plan to complete an additional 10 full scope audits. And for those 10, we already were on site at the district and we already gathered all the information prior to the COVID-19. Plus, we plan to complete an additional 37 limited scope audits. Now, you might say 47 more audits may sound like a lot, but we do have a healthy pipeline, which includes 15 completed draft reports plus 12 final reports that are ready to be issued. And we do have a very good group of employer auditors. As for the status of employer audit findings, during the period January through June 4th, we reported 53 new findings. During the same period, 122 findings from both previous and current years have been resolved. Overall, 76 findings remain open, which consists of 44 findings from the prior year and 32 findings from the current year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Let me see if any committee members have questions on the.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Masiga.
Thank you very much, Controller Yee. Mike, thank you for the update. I guess I just wanted to ask how you and your team's interactions have been with the school districts where we've been doing audits, knowing that the districts are incredibly challenged with trying to develop plans for online learning, planning for what their next steps will be with their students and ability to kind of come back to campus or develop their learning models. I'd imagine that a lot of the staff, have a lot of other priorities and issues that they're trying to tackle. So I just wondered if you could share, how the audit process, what the audit process looked like and how we're managing working with the districts given the challenges that they're facing.
You're right. Actually, in mid-March through mid-April or so, the districts, we really couldn't communicate with the districts. The districts were closed, but eventually they start to reopen. And actually, we had a couple of districts call us requesting an audit, which we complied with that request. But there were a few said there's no way they can handle it. And we're sensitive to that, so we said, okay, we'll postpone those audits when they said. And if they want additional information, so the audits that are in progress right now, those are the districts that are willing to provide us information. And we suspended all our full scope audits temporarily for now, because we have to gather a lot more information on those. So we're only moving forward with our limited scope audits. So that's not much information that the districts need to provide us. And we're only looking at the districts that are willing or enabled to provide us that information. And then when we send out the draft reports, we'll give them additional time to respond if they need it. And before we send out the reports to both draft and final, that's why we have, I think I said 10 final reports ready to be issued. They aren't ready to receive them just yet or comment on them. So we're just going to hold off on those reports until they're ready to receive the reports. But we are working with the districts and we are sensitive to their concerns and we're listening to them. If they're unable to comply with us, that's fine. We'll just suspend it for as long as it takes. And we'll move forward and reassign audits only for those districts that are willing and able to work with us.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I just a quick comment. I just think the approach that you're taking to be flexible, or at least to be open and communicating with the districts, is the right one. I think we need to balance that with our need to continue to oversee as is our responsibility. But appreciate the update.
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Higa. Very much top of mind with respect to what districts are experiencing as we move forward. Along those lines, Mike, when there are instances where there are audit findings, and this is after you've had full engagement with the district and they've responded to the audit, what's the expectation with respect to resolving some of those findings, given the challenges that districts have?
All right. So we send out a draft report and we give them an opportunity to respond to that. And if they disagree with that, we work with them at the time, during that time, before a final goes out. And then whatever we both agree on, normally, very rarely do they disagree with our finding. Okay. And we still have the finding in the report. And there are times that we agree with the district's response and we'll remove a finding or amend the finding before the final goes out. So once a final goes out, and if they do agree with the finding, then they work with the program areas to resolve that finding. If they don't agree with the finding, then they have 90 days to submit an administrative appeal request. Right. But working with the district, I went into the office about a month ago or so, because I thought there may have been a problem with districts following up with the program areas. But I asked a couple people in the program areas asking if there is any problem with that. And they relayed to me that they really haven't had anything more than usual. Because there's some districts that even before COVID-19 that, especially with the systemic findings, they've had problems making all these corrections, things like that. But nothing really out in the ordinary, which surprised me. But then again, we're only moving forward with the districts that are able to comply with our requests, and maybe they're better able to handle the follow-up too.
Right. Right.
I think it's worth noting as well that where we could, we extended the response periods for our audit reports. So we've lengthened that period. There are some legal constraints on timeframes for appeals that we couldn't just arbitrarily extend. However, we did with regards to like responses to the audit reports and things like that. We gave more time than what we normally would, and we're trying to be very responsive if they request additional time. We're very open to that as well.
That's great. Thank you. I see Mr. Yetman in the queue. Bob, are you on?
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mike, thanks for the update. Can everybody hear me? Yep. Yes. Mike, thanks for the update. I really want to thank you and Larry. I think you guys did a great job up front of seeing what was coming and requesting information and data from the school districts ahead of time. And that allowed us to move into do more desk audits. And that's just really great. That was just really wonderful. You guys thought ahead to do that. And I really want to applaud that foresight. And second, I want to highlight an issue that I think is important because we don't know when it will end, but staff welfare. Of course, the full scope audits often require a lot of data. And as you said, those are almost at a standstill, and there's not much we can do about that. And how those are resumed and under what format and when do we start sending people outside. I would just urge, audits are important. And of course, I love audits, but I think staff welfare is more important. And so keeping everyone safe, I think clearly would be a priority down the road as we think of that. And then, of course, I agree with the concerns that the board has about service disruption to the school districts, although I can say to the board that Larry and Mike both have really good hands on this. They really know, they really understand the disruption an audit can cause to the school districts. And they're being very careful and selective, I believe. I think they're exercising a light touch while still maintaining their obligations of oversight. So I think they're doing a really great job on that aspect, actually, and it's important to do so. And then finally, to the board with respect to these school district audits and audits more generally, Larry's going to present a plan, and Mike has hopes and aspirations for the audits he's going to conduct, so does Roseanne. But flexibility in the future is going to absolutely be key, because we just don't know what the school district, I mean, some school districts haven't even announced what they're going to do this fall, and it's August already. I don't know where my son's going to school. I have a guess in Davis. But the point is there's so much on the mind of the school districts at this point, other than just the audits. And so flexibility with the audit plan, especially when Larry and Mike and Roseanne lay out their goals. And of course, the committee has to vote on any changes that you'll be asked to do. But I think we need to keep in mind when time comes up and they say maybe 6 months from now, a year from now, and say, look, we weren't able to get everything done. I think a group sense of understanding and realization that flexibility is just simply going to be needed for this next year. And as auditors, we don't like being flexible. We like having a plan, we like sticking to the plan, and we like being calibrated according to how well we did the plan. But I think this year, and maybe bleeding into the next year as well, is going to call for extreme flexibility on the part of the plan obligations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yetman. Great points. And I'll ask Larry to just respond to those. But I want to hear from Roseanne first, and then maybe we can then talk about the recommended changes that we're looking at going forward. Roseanne. Oops. Did we lose Roseanne?
See, is she on there?
I don't see her.
I will move forward and then she can join us.
Sure.
Okay, so for internal audits that, they, in spite of these challenges, they were able to complete 2 internal audits and 2 audits and facilitated audits that were completed, 2 additional audits by external audit firms. And so the contracted audits that were completed were for the risk mitigating strategies area that was performed by Macias, Ginny, and O'Connell. And they found that they had sufficient controls in place really to mitigate the risks of that portfolio. And the reason I wanted to highlight this a little bit is because this is the first audit for this new program since the portfolio was implemented. And so they did a really great job on establishing controls and able to, they passed that audit with flying colors. And so I think they did a good job there implementing that portfolio with good controls. In the real estate audit that was performed by Grant Thornton, while there were no real significant deficiencies that were identified, they did offer a recommendation to consistently document management fees and improve the process. And at the investment committee, you heard Mike DeRay talk a little bit about hiring a portfolio valuation services and to be able to value each asset individually rather than and understand the process and valuation variances and things like that, rather than kind of a collective view, if you will. And so they concurred with those findings and they're addressing those issues as Mike did report. For the internal audit side, the incentive compensation audit was completed, and this was an internal audit of our human resources area, our program for incentive compensation, and it reviewed kind of like not only the controls around it, but the accuracy and completeness of those incentives that we offer to our staff. And so we identified some opportunities to strengthen the process by training additional staff in that area on the incentive plan and related processes, and then retaining documentation for any future type of audits that might occur in that program. And then we also did one on employer reporting. And while you heard Julie at the board and Jack report that, our employers are reporting their compensation and a large percentage of those compensations are reported timely. That's the same as what we were experiencing in our work with the employers. But this one is really about identifying how the employers are enrolled, and that we're picking up all of the employers, including charter schools, and that they're enrolled timely and that their payments are being processed. And so there was no significant variances, but we did find that the process could be improved to more completely retain some of the archival work items, such as employer correspondence, and then procedures that could be enhanced to better reflect their actual practice. And the full summaries of those reports are on ARM 27 through 30. So we also validated that management resolved 27% of the outstanding findings, and a list of those findings and statuses are on ARM 31 through 43, and 27% or 26 of the 98. In this reporting cycle, we added 68 new findings from audits that were completed at the end of the prior year. So the percentage of those that were implemented by management and corrections made may appear smaller than some of our normal reports, but the larger number of audit findings were right at the end of the year there. So we expect them to continue to make good progress in that area, and we'll report on that. And then currently we have 3 other audits that are in progress, and I feel like these audits in the plan really address some of those tsunami landscape risk profile changes, if you will. And the first one is that we're kicking off an audit of information security. And we've had some changes, in our information security profile. We've had new technologies implemented, new applications that were implemented, and new ways that were designed to access our systems as a result of remote telework. And so we want to be able to make sure that our information security profile remains robust, and even though we're introducing new technologies. Currently, we also have audits underway for our operational performance reporting that we provide. And then we're also looking at the headquarters expansion billing very closely. And there's a new process that's used for the billing and the calculation of those invoices. And so we're auditing that process. And then finally, with regards to another big project, pension solution, while we're implementing pension solution, there's changes that are made to our existing START system, which is our retirement system. And new legislation is introduced, and so we update our system. But what we're trying to do is make sure that those those updates that are in our current system are carried over to the new system, and so that we're not in an interim period there where we may miss some of those important updates that need that to occur. And so with regards to the new risk landscape, we considered some of the industry top risk, which of course are business continuity, employee health and safety, and then financial and information security. And the financial risk, we believe, are also covered in the plan. And there's an audit we're going to leave in there with regards to cash management. And then we also have investment audits of fixed income and global equity currently in the plan. And then, so we have a few audits in the plan, though, that based on resources and our new risk profile, that we're going to recommend deferring. And that's an audit of recruitment, request for proposals, and travel reimbursement. And while these 3 processes, they're part of the Pillars project, they will undergo changes and adopt recommendations from the continuous improvement team that's looking at those processes right now. So we propose deferring these audits in this year, and we'll consider them during our risk assessment for next year's plan. And this will give the continuous improvement team an opportunity to work with them and implement any new changes, which kind of, we go in and evaluate the existing internal control structure, and then they make changes, we'll want to look at it again anyways. And so we also suggest deferring the data privacy audit that's in the plan, and adding an audit of business continuity to align with our changing risk profile. Enterprise compliance and information security are still very, very interested in data privacy, but business continuity is currently a priority. And there's a lot of lessons that we've learned from this experience, and we want to make sure that they're considered in our business continuity plan, as this is our first pandemic, but may not be our last. And And business continuity has expanded. It's not just about our business, it's about reliance on our third parties and external parties to really conduct business. And so we want to make sure our business continuity plans are addressing that going forward. And then lastly, we propose adding an audit of teleworking that addresses our remote workforce and policy and procedural compliance. It's really about the health and safety of all of our staff at CalSTRS. And then we look at consistency of application and return to work and telework safety and consistency with new HR rules, CalHR rules. And so what we're really recommending here is that the committee approve amendment of the plan, that we will, our goal is to complete 72 employer audits, 13, that would be 13 full scope and 59 limited scope, defer internal audits for travel reimbursement, recruitment, request for proposal, and data privacy, and then add internal audits of business continuity and teleworking. That way, that with this, we can really focus our audit plan on what we believe are the most current risks to the organization, and be able to do that, accomplish this work within the resources that we are currently managing. Appreciate the flexibility that Dr. Yetman mentioned. There was some discussion also and approval of the committee work plans around flexibility, and you know, we have to set a goal. We do it based on the best information that we have available to us at this time, but we do recognize too that things may change, right? When you know, as I mentioned earlier about that tsunami, it does change the risk landscape. And if we get another wave that comes in, then that changes our landscape and our profile again, we just need to be agile and be able to adjust accordingly. And that's kind of our plan to do so.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Really appreciate the thoughtfulness of the plan going forward. And I think I would share and echo, and I think all of us would agree that obviously the health and safety and welfare of our staff team and of everyone involved is paramount. So I think we've been hearing all week and from the board to each of our committees that flexibility is key. And so should anything change with respect to that recommendation, should the committee adopt it, we will be in communication about that. But appreciate the thoughtfulness in developing the goals for this next cycle. Are there questions, members of the committee? I don't see hands raised. Okay. All right, so we do have then the recommendation before us that Mr. Jensen's just outlined, which is to complete 72 employer audits, including 13 full scope and 59 limited scope audits. We will be deferring, it's proposed that we defer the internal audits of travel reimbursement, recruitment, request for proposal, and data privacy, and then adding internal audits of business continuity and teleworking. Before we take action on this, I believe there may be some public comment related to this particular item. Let me just call for that at this point.
We have one public comment.
Okay. Good morning.
Our first call is Larry. Larry, go ahead. Larry, it's your turn.
Leonard.
Oh, yes, good morning.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Okay, good morning. Thank you. This is Leonard Goldberg, California Teacher Association Retirement Committee Chairperson. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Larry and your team, for your progress report and update on audits and risk management. There are a couple of points I want to express to your committee and the board. When you talked about COVID-19 impact, you said school districts began to close. I want to clarify and say that the active members of CalSTRS never closed or shut down. In fact, most of us worked longer days and nights, as well as harder than ever before, to continue to provide high levels of services to our local school communities throughout the state of California. School district offices also continue to operate longer and harder than ever before, whether at the district headquarters or remotely. Distant learning was certainly a focus, but payroll and reporting does not stop. We do, however, appreciate your flexibility in the audits. When a member is vested with CalSTRS, there is a historic blanket of coverage that comes with time. One of trust in knowing their defined benefit pension is peace of mind when they are ready to retire. Unlike the risks involved with 403Bs and 457Bs and other investment opportunities offered to members, the formula of years of service, age, and earned salary will equal for most a retirement in dignity and security. Our members fight hard to earn a contract or collective bargaining agreement that clearly spells out their duties, hours, and responsibilities to earn a credible service year and salary. When these audits are performed, my heart skips beats and the pit of my stomach hurts for those retirees and others whose defined benefit or supplemental benefits might get revised. Our collective organization eyebrows raise when we see the number from the audit team reveal that 76% of the audits in this last round had at least one systematic finding. That number is too large, period. When only 3 of 22 or 14% of the audits had no findings, this figure is too low. We acknowledge that audits need to occur, but there are fundamental issues with the number of findings. The implementation of the new recording management system, clerical errors and omissions, and incorrect reporting of unused sick leave, to name a few. Our team, California Teacher Association, did in fact meet with you, Larry, and staff members and reviewed this and a few ideas and principles we think will lower the findings and improve or up the number of county offices and school districts with no findings. Again, I say thank you for that opportunity to interface our concerns and some possible.
Thank you for your comments.
That's for a 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Your time has expired. And thank you. I don't think there was any intention to not certainly acknowledge the important role that educators continue to play during the COVID-19 pandemic, and very, very grateful for the continued dedication to be sure that our students across the state are continuing to receive quality instruction during this really difficult time. I also just wanted to say to Mr. Goldberg, we appreciate the engagement with the audit team as well, and welcome that at any point in time. Danielle, are there any other public speakers in the queue?
There are no speakers in the queue right now.
Thank you very much. Okay, committee members, let's get back. We do have the recommendation before us that Mr. Jensen has outlined. Any further comments about the recommendation? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Higa, second by Treasurer Ma. Let's call the roll.
Ms. Higa?
Aye.
Ms. Yamamoto?
Aye.
Ms. Whitaker?
Aye.
Treasurer Ma?
Aye.
Mr. Yamanaka?
Yeah, I need to abstain on this one.
Chairperson Yi?
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Larry, and to Mike. And I apologize to Roseanne. She probably was hanging on for a little bit longer than expected. Okay, members, let's move to our informational items. So first is item number 5, which is the 2020 Enterprise Compliance Services Plan Progress Report and Compliance Director update. And let me turn to Cheryl for that.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. So although 2020 has been challenging for many of us, I am thankful to report that my team is healthy and we continue to make progress on our 2020 compliance plan initiatives. The compliance team continues to communicate, engage, and integrate. We have communicated with internal and external stakeholders on the launch of our, on the new launch of our hotline, the Compliance and Ethics Hotline, through raising awareness by presenting throughout the organization and to some external stakeholders group about this hotline. We've also reinforced CalSTRS high standards for compliance and ethics by reminding the organization that although our work environment may have changed, our commitment to ethics has not. And then we've also reached out to newly onboarded staff to highlight our code of ethics and business conduct, as well as the availability of the hotline for any compliance or ethics concerns. We've engaged relevant stakeholders.
Thank you.
Have a great day. There's Roseanne. Yikes. Okay, so we've also reached out to relevant stakeholders to assist us in bringing the CalSTRS Code of Ethics and Business Conduct to life by adding graphics, learning aids, and decision trees. We really want this to be a resource for the organization when it comes to decision making on ethics and compliance. We also engage stakeholders to gain support and feedback on compliance initiatives, collaborating on policy development, as well as developing framework and tools that will allow us to perform reoccurring compliance risk assessments and ongoing regulatory and compliance monitoring. Lastly, we have integrated with functions within the organization to avoid duplication and improve coordination on associated initiatives, such as integrating the pension abuse hotline with the compliance and ethics hotline, as well as coordination of risk assessments, training, and third-party risk management. So overall, I'm very pleased with the work we've accomplished during these unusual times and with a limited staff of 2. But I am pleased to report to the committee that we are in the recruitment process, and I am confident that we'll be fully staffed within the next few months. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you so much for the report, Cheryl. Are there questions or comments by committee members? Yes, Ms. Higa.
Thank you, Controller Yee. I just have a comment. Cheryl, I just want to thank you for everything you've done since you have taken leadership of the program. And one of the things that you commented on is also just the work that you and your team are doing along with other leaders in the organization to try to assess areas where there might be overlap of several functions working on a particular activity like the hotline, and just trying to coordinate and streamline those activities. Because I think when we started our program, many members of the committee and the board just had questions about how the compliance function would start to bring activities together. And so to hear that you're making progress on that is great. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great work. Yes, any other members with comments? Yes, Ms. Yamamoto.
Hi. Thank you, Cheryl, for your report. When you say you have a staff of 2, what is your hope for recruitment and future and being flexible as you are now and bringing on somebody at this point, some staff at some point, and I can't remember how many vacancies you have at this point as well.
Yes, so we have a mighty team of 2. So they're awesome. I have to say, I love this team, and we're recruiting right now for 2 additional team members. And I am hopeful that with that full team, we'll be able to accomplish our plan, and then we'll keep assessing as we grow and we mature.
Yeah, but you've already done a lot just with the mighty team. So, kudos to you and thank you for your hard work.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Great. Any other committee comments? Okay, seeing none. Danielle, is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item?
No. There are no callers in the queue.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Keep up the great work, and very excited about the progress that's been made to date. Thank you. Okay, let's then move on to, I think we're on item number 6, review of information requests. Scott, any?
I did not record any.
Okay, hearing none there. Item number 7, we have the draft agenda for the next committee meeting. I think all of you have had a chance to review it. Any comments on the draft agenda? Okay, any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, Tanya? Okay, seeing none, we then will move on to item number 8. This is the opportunity for statements from the public for items not on the agenda. Any members of the public wishing to speak this moment?
There is someone in the queue. We're screening him now.
Okay. Okay, we have one person who wishes to comment on this item or at this point before the committee.
Our first caller is Leonard. Leonard, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, my time ran out and I did want to make a couple of closing comments. Again, Leonard Goldberg, California Teacher Association. And I just wanted to conclude by saying that we have met with Larry and his team and we talked about some possible solutions and concerns and strategies towards improving the audit process. And of course, we talked about training, and of course, training, a possible newsletter or bulletin for county offices and districts with a checklist of items to be considered before an audit or findings that are hot button issues after audits that may need the closer attention of districts and county offices, and exploring a statute of limitations on audit findings. Focusing on the positive, is there an award that CalSTRS could give to recognize those county offices and districts that are reporting correctly and have no findings? And for those county offices and districts that continue to do so on an ongoing basis. As the CalSTRS members, there's little to nothing one individual can do to appeal the findings of misreporting of defined benefit or supplemental benefit accounts. We're at the mercy of the school district and county office time reporters who have hopefully been trained by CalSTRS to input pay codes and unused sick leave correctly. With the transition for CalSTRS to the new reporting system, there must be better methods for all these errors and omissions to be avoided and protect members' pensions as earned. We want to continue to be part of the solution. I thank you, Larry, and your team and the board for your hard work and considering our collective concerns in these matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Thank you for hopping back on the line and concluding your comments. Danielle, anyone else in the queue to address the committee?
There are no more callers in the queue.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Thank you for your assistance. Any other comments, members? Hearing none. Okay. Thank you very much. This ARM committee is hereby adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.